In the shadowy world of true crime, there are killers whose stories are rarely exposed. Today, we delve into the chilling tale of a man who hid his sinister desires behind the lens of a camera. Meet Harvey Glatman, the glamour girl slayer, a serial killer who roamed the streets of 1950s America, luring unsuspecting victims into his twisted world. Welcome to Claws and Crime Chronicles, where we dive deep into the dark and enigmatic world of true crime and mysteries. Join us as we unravel the dark secrets of this serial killer photographer, exploring the shocking details of his crimes and the chilling psychology behind them. Harvey Murray Glatman was born in Bronx, New York in 1927 to Ophelia and Albert Glatman, a milliner who spent most of his time running his shop in the heart of the Bronx's garment district. When he was 4 years old, the parents first realized that something was certainly wrong with their child. Ophelia saw Harvey engaging in gross sadomasochism with a string in his room. The parents choose to ignore the behavior and chalk it up to the peculiarities of an exploratory, inquisitive child. They were unaware that the thread symbolized a neurosis of self-punishment that would develop to deadly levels. The string would be replaced by a rope, and the rope would become his obsession. To escape the crowded, filthy urbania of the Bronx, the family relocated to Denver, Colorado, in 1938 when Harvey was 11. Little Harvey's issues were ignored for a long time. His neighbors assumed he was simply reserved and focused. He was a well-behaved, quiet, and excellent student in the eyes of his teachers. In truth, he was a multifaceted scholar. His closest acquaintances as a child were a select group of lunchtime playground buddies. But he was terrified of girls. In 1939, Harvey started junior high. He still stumbled around girls as a teenager because of his unresolved adolescent phobia of female sex. But he yearned to touch girls. And he was able to realize this ideal thanks to the rope, his favorite tool. He started a new hobby of breaking into people's homes out of boredom. He would usually steal something, anything, just for fun from most of these. A .26 caliber handgun that he discovered in someone's dining room bureau was one of his treasured loot. His burglaries weren't all random. On occasion, he was more picky. On the streets of Denver, he would spot a lovely woman and go after her. When he was certain of her address, he would scale a window. Once inside, he dragged her to her bedroom and restrained her hands with a piece of rope he always carried in his jacket. Additionally, he covered her lips with a gag cloth. He found that the rope held the secret to a brand new pleasure. It gave him uninterrupted time to touch a supple, curving body. But he wouldn't rape them or completely undress them. He just felt more like the guy he wanted to be and less like a loser after each molestation. Throughout high school, he intermittently carried out this process. He started being careless, as on May 18, 1945, he was apprehended by police when he attempted to break into Elma Hammond's residence on Vrain Street. They discovered the gun and the rope in his pockets. He admitted to other burglaries during questioning that night, but he deliberately omitted out the ones that involved sex. However, less than a month later, while still awaiting his burglary crime trial, he kidnapped Noreen Laurel from her neighborhood and drove her to Sunshine Canyon while bounding her. Before returning her to Denver well before morning, he performed his customary show and touch routine there once more, without engaging in any rape. When Noreen arrived at the police station, she immediately reported him. This time, there is no pending bail when he gets detained again. He was imprisoned until his trial in November, at which point he was given a year in Colorado State Prison. He was just 17 years old. Before being released from prison on July 27, 1946, Harvey Glatman completed 8 of his 12-month term. One of the first things his mother did was to take him to a psychiatrist in order to prevent him from committing any more reckless acts. His mother thought it would be best for Harvey to leave Denver. She then drove her son to Yonkers, where she put him up in a neat small apartment and saw to it that he found a job at a television repair shop. He went out into the streets in quest of excitement after his mother had departed. Instead of taking the chance to try to get a gun, he purchased a cap pistol from a 5 and dime that he believed to be realistic-looking enough to pass for one. However, the pocket knife he was carrying was not a toy. Of course, the best-made hemp rope, which was also guaranteed to not slip, was also used. But he had made many unsuccessful attacks on women before being captured 2 days later. In Albany's municipal court, Glatman was charged with assaulting nurse Florence Hayden. With encouragement from the district attorney's office, Judge Earl Gallup sentenced Harvey to 5 to 10 years in jail. Judge Gallup requested that Harvey start his sentence in the Elmira Reformatory in New York because he wasn't yet 21 years old, but thereafter be committed to serve the remainder of his time in Sing Sing Maximum Security Facility. Harvey spent nearly 2 years in Elmira. During that time, he was medically researched and evaluated. At the end of that time, Harvey was diagnosed as a psychopathic personality schizophrenic type having sexually perverted impulses as the basis of his criminality. And that further studies on Harvey Glatman was strongly recommended after he was moved to Sing Sing. The parole reports that have endured the years reveal that Harvey was a model prisoner, had a high IQ, showed aptitude and zeal for his work in the jail, and responded favorably to irregular medical checks. Harvey Glatman was granted release after serving just 2 years, 8 months in prison thanks to benefits for good behavior that reduced the minimum 5-year term. However, conditions mandated that he must go back to his mother's care, find a full-time work, and continue to be under court supervision for an additional 4.5 years. Harvey returned to parental care in Denver and worked a variety of odd jobs while largely abstaining from mischief. A patchy employment history is mentioned in parole follow-ups, along with issues transitioning to a full-time work schedule. Harvey shared a home with his parents up until his father Albert's death, at which point the mother and son started arguing. Harvey Glatman received full liberty in September 1956. Since he didn't have any more monthly updates to complete or authority-mandated checkups, he made the decision to go to Los Angeles. By January 1957, Harvey Glatman had arrived in Los Angeles. For the first time in years, he was left alone and unattended, and his dreams of naked women resurfaced. So, the first thing he did was pick up photography again. He had excelled in the subject in high school and found it to be fascinating. Harvey was able to buy a used 1951 black Dodge Corvette and pay the rent on a small apartment on quiet Melrose Avenue by working as a TV repairman during the day. Additionally, he managed to save up enough money to purchase a pricey Rolleicord camera, equipped with a Schneider Zener zoom lens and a tripod. He also purchased a .32 Browning automatic. In 1957, California had no background checks, license requirements, or waiting period before purchasing a handgun. Not even ID was required. It was a cash-only transaction. With the right tools, he only required a pseudonym at this point and created the alias Johnny Glenn, which to him, the name sounded elegant and convincing. He lingered around model studios for months, taking as many shots as he pleased while marveling and aroused by how freely these women let their hair down for $20 an hour. His first victim was Judith Dole, a beautiful 19-year-old divorcee, who took on any job she could to pay for legal representation during a custody dispute with her ex. The morning of August 1, 1957, Harvey gave Judy a call and explained that he had previously seen her model and was interested in having her pose for a layout for a well-known true crime publication. He offered her $20 per hour for a 2-hour shoot. The offer was accepted, and she accompanied him to his studio, which was really his residence. He stated that he would have to tie her up to illustrate because the pictures would go with a story on bondage. He pulled his gun and began to threaten her. He took pictures of her in a variety of positions. At 10:30 p.m., Harvey promised her to drive her home, but he drove his car down the highway and continued to drive. He finally slowed down after he reached Thousand Palms. He came to a stop here in the middle of nowhere, 100 miles from Los Angeles. He yanked Judy out of the car. Afterward, he lassoed her neck, forced her to her knees, spun her around on her belly, and wrapped the other loop of the cord around her ankles all in one motion. Her body snapped beneath him as he pulled up. She died with just one last groan. Somehow, Harvey required a few more flash photography shots of Judy as a memento of his victory. 7 months later, Harvey met victim number 2. Shirley Ann Bridgeford, a 24-year-old mother of 2 sons who recently got divorced, joined the well-known Patty Sullivan Lonely Hearts Club in Los Angeles, hoping to find the right partner. She agreed to go on a date with fellow member George Williams when he asked her on March 7, 1958. Harvey, posing as George Williams, arrived to her Sun Valley house on Tuxford Street at 7:45 p.m. They went for dinner in Oceanside. Afterwards, they drove in a southerly direction. He hadn't yet made up his mind to rape and kill Shirley Bridgeford. He couldn't stop thinking about her 2 kids. Shirley, in his opinion, was a different type than Judy Dole. She didn't expose her body to total strangers by stripping off. Shirley was a pretty young lady. However, Glatman was aroused by her mere presence in the car. Finally, the vehicle veered into the Vallecito Mountains surrounding foothills close to Anza State Park. There, Harvey tortured her. He assaulted her, and then announced that it was time for a photo session. He shot pictures of her, both while she was dressed and while she was naked. He garroted Shirley and killed her when he decided he had enough pictures to last him for a while. He did what he had done with Judy Dole before abandoning her lifeless body in the dust. He took some death shots in a number of positions. For months later, he repeated the same procedure when he came across Ruth Mercado, his 3rd victim, and dumped her body close to the remains of Shirley Bridgeford's. Families, friends, and landlords of the 3 girls were questioning the police in the meantime. 3 women, 2 models and 1 nice girl, left their homes with a single man before disappearing. Up until this point, Harvey had been able to control women with a gun and a rope, particularly a rope, his representation of sexual dominance. He now thought he could continue doing it indefinitely. Glatman had come across the Diane studio in the summer of 1958. It was one of the more expensive but better-known modeling agencies on Sunset Boulevard. Diane, the proprietor, frequently posed herself. Her models were often selected by legitimate cameramen for magazine advertisements and TV commercials. Of course, the studio also drew photographers like Harvey Glatman, who was willing to pay up to $30 for an hour of stripping. In the late afternoon of October 27, 1958, Harvey came to the studio looking to hire a model. He identified himself as Frank Johnson this time. Diane, the owner, offers studio space as well as the use of one of her specific models. Frank concurred, so Diane called Lorraine V. Hill, who eagerly accepted her first modeling job. Harvey was scheduled to take her up at 8. Diane contacted Lorraine once more to caution her about Frank after Harvey left. Lorraine thanked the agent for the advice and vowed to take care. Due to this warning, Lorraine fought Harvey as he was trying to tie her. She managed to get off the car and ran to the police car who had stopped. Later that evening, following a rough interrogation, Harvey eventually admitted what he had done. If his testimony wasn't stunning enough, the graphic details of what he had done were captured in black and white to chill anyone who viewed them. Harvey was placed in handcuffs and brought to the San Diego County Courthouse under armed protection after confessing to the murders of Dole, Bridgeford, and Mercado. But he wasn't locked up right away. He was instructed by the investigators to lead them to the abandoned bodies location first. Harvey led the caravan through the night's pitch blackness down what had been the final section of his well-traveled route from Los Angeles, the San Diego freeway to Escondido, then east on 78 to the desert and San Vallecito's foothills, where they discovered Shirley Bridgeford and Ruth Mercado's corpses. On Monday, November 3rd, Harvey Glatman was officially arraigned in San Diego County. Here his trial would take place, even though 3 other counties had wanted him badly: Orange County, for the assault on Miss V. Hill that occurred within its jurisdiction, Riverside County where Miss Dole had been killed, and Los Angeles County, claiming, rightfully so, that all of the victims had been abducted there. But San Diego County DA James Don Keller insisted that his county had 2 corpses, compared to Riverside's 1. Monday, December 15, 1985, in Department 4 of Superior Court, Harvey Glatman was sentenced to death after being found guilty of first-degree murder. The executed murderer was moved to San Quentin Prison's death row. On September 18, 1959, the day of his scheduled execution, he was led into San Quentin's infamous green room to inhale cyanide. The treatment, which started at 10 a.m., finished in 12 minutes. As we conclude our journey through the disturbing and unsettling world of Harvey Glatman, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the monsters among us often wear the most unassuming masks. Remember, the chilling stories of these rare, hidden serial killers serve as a stark reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history's mysteries. Remember to subscribe, like, and share, and leave a comment as we continue to unearth the enigmatic stories that have shaped our world. Until the next episode, this is Kat from Claws and Crime Chronicles, signing off.